Hello, let's talk about confidence. Yes, I remember that I already made a video about it, but it's a bit old. It's a bit outdated. And since for this one I searched more about this topic, I'd like to make a new version of my old video. But if you're curious, you can watch my old video. And if not, keep in this one. Okay, stay in this one. But I'd like to talk about confidence because the previous video was about resilience, and one of the topics that helps you to be more resilient, it's actually being confident. And as I always said, in the end of the day, everything turns out to be confidence. And that's why I decided to search more about this topic and bring a bit of everything I've learned through studying this topic and also remembering a bit of my own experiences with confidence, okay? Because no, nowadays I'm not a confident person, but there was a small period of time of my life that I was. And it was so grateful and so, you know, enjoyable back then that I would like to be like that again. But for this, it's like a huge work we have to build my confidence again. But let's start with what can help you to be more confident? Because, as I said, some people are naturally uh, confident, the same way some people are naturally resilient. And it's not the case of most of us. So there are many people out there that they are naturally confident. And there are some people who actually are naturally confident, but with the companies on of their lives, they end up being more and more insecure. And I guess it was my case because I was since I was young, I was always a shy kid. I've always been shy, but I wasn't insecure. I was quite secure. But since I was raised in a Christian family and conservative family as well, I think the more I was growing up and starting looking like a woman, and I can explain about it later. But basically, I felt like my confidence was being degraded. You know, I wasn't being praised by being confident, and more I was taught to be more insecure because that's it. If you're insecure, it allows many people to take control over you, and if you live in an environment like mine, you understand what I mean. And as I said, I was raised in a Christian conservative family. Guys, the two together don't work. It doesn't work. You have to choose one. Either you're conservative or you're Christian, and vice versa. Both, it's too much. It's traumatic. You know, we can stand living in a Christian household. It's okay. But if it's also conservative, it's a bit too much. It is. And that's why I felt since I was a kid, my secret, my confidence was not being very praised. And after passing through so many deceptions in my life, that's what that was when my confidence go away, went away. But I am in the process of recovering it. And I will give you some tips that I look and I've searched for that helped me. And the first one, the first step for you to be confident is get out of your comfort zone. Yes, because I think that most of insecure people in their minds, they imagine what life would be like if they weren't insecure. And sometimes what you have to do is exactly it. Put it in practice. Get out of your comfort zone. So, for example, I bought this blue eyeshadow and I barely use it. I've never used this blue eyeshadow to leave my home. I only used it to record videos. And it's because you're insecure. You know, if I was confident, I would use it and I wouldn't care if people are judging me and all. And I know it's hard. But part of me wants to do that, but it's not easy. It's not easy. So that's why we have to put a bit of effort on it. It's simply one day, do it without thinking. Just do it. You know, the same way. Today using a dress. I'm wearing a dress. This is a dress. And I barely wear a dress. I'm always using jeans or pants in general because I don't feel secure using dresses. Even though I love dresses and especially short dresses, this one is pretty short because I'm always afraid of being judged because I was raised, as I said, in a very conservative Christian family, and I was always listened. You cannot wear short clothes, you cannot wear shorts, you cannot wear skirts that are too short, and I am traumatized. I am traumatized because um, since I was always feeling this pressure of seeing how long my skirt is, I was afraid of using a too short skirt. And today I cannot, I don't feel uh, secure using a skirt. I don't feel confident using a skirt because I'm always thinking that people will see me and will gossip about me. And no, it's not that I think that I'm a protagonist. It's trauma. It's literally trauma, And I bought a skirt and I only use it once here in my city because every time I want to use this skirt, I'm afraid of listing something for my father, or somebody sees me using it, wearing it actually, and I end up giving up and putting a pant again. And it's not that I don't like pants, I love pants, but uh, pants end up being my safe choice. And I know that once I start being a bit more confident and caring a bit less about what people think about me, I'll use skirts again and short skirts because I like mini skirts, and that's fine. That's fine. I like mini dresses, but I'm always scared of the judgment from people. And I end up always giving up on wearing the clothes I bought because I like them. I have a style, a fashion trend that I created in my mind, and I've been drawing the clothes I imagine. And I love that clothes. I would like to wear them, but I know that in this place, I don't feel confident to be like that. So that's why we have to slowly get out of our comfort zone because maybe I won't be able to wear a mini skirt now, but if I'm able to, as I said previously, leave my house with this blue eyeshadow, it's already a step. If I was able to have this short haircut, knowing that I would be judged, knowing that people will call me ugly by my back, it's a step. And we have to take small steps, you know? And when we talk about get out of your comfort zones, we have to respect our time as well. We have to understand that it's not something that will happen overnight. No, it's not an overnight thing. It is gradually, and that's okay. That's okay. That's how things is. If you take such a huge step, you end up falling. So we have to be careful about this act of get out of our comfort zone. But it is really important for you to be more confident. Do that because if you're always in your comfort zone, you'll be stuck on this place forever. And you don't want to be stuck. You want to be confident. You want to be able to be the version of yourself that you imagine. And for that, you have to take an action. We have to take an action, but it doesn't have to be such a huge action. It can be small steps. If you're doing something, it's better than do nothing. You know. But another tip that I think is to be kind to yourself. And it's kind of related to this for the things that I've been saying. Uh, you have to respect your time. And for you to respect your time, you have to be kind to yourself. And I saw a quote this week when I was watching a video of a lady. She said something that I was like, man, she's completely right, that we should treat ourselves the way we treat other people, because sometimes we're so understanding, supportive, and kind, and cute with other people, but when it comes to ourselves, we are so hard on yourselves, and I myself, I'm like that again, so sometimes we're always so negative about ourselves all the time, you know and when it comes to the other people, we are always being supportive, we're always being kind and understanding. Why can't we be like that with ourselves? you know Sometimes we have to be more gentle with our own self. And I was thinking about it, and it's really important because a confident person, they are understanding about themselves. It's not that they're lying about the reality they're in. No, they understand it. But they also understand why they're in this place. And they respect the steps that they need to come out of this bad um, reality, for example. So, because of that, there's no point of view one to be confident if you're always telling bad things about yourself to yourself. If you're always thinking negatively and all. So that's why, as I said in the previous videos, in the resilience video, I used to love Winston Churchill quotes because they used to inspire me and to be more understanding about my failure, about uh, my process, of becoming the person I want to be, my journey, about this journey. So the more I stopped consuming this kind of content about being optimist, being positive, having a positive thinking, and all, I started to be more negative, negative, So sometimes we have to try to consume things that inspires us, things that make us be more optimist about life. And because if we're always reading bad news, if we're always consuming content about people complaining, and this is something that I have to stop consuming. If you're always consuming people complaining about things, about the government, about the economy, and about the world, and about the people, you'll be negative. And I'm not saying that you should be, delulu. Actually, being delulu is a good thing. But anyway, um, but it's not that you should ignore the things that are happening, that they are important, and sometimes they are not good. But you have to face it with optimism. You know, it's not about ignore. It's about understand that it's a reality, but do not let it impact your mental health, and it's hard. So that's why I'm telling you, try to avoid consuming a lot of content related to this negative. Try to avoid follow negative people, because sometimes there are many people who are not negative, but they will bring reality. They will be realistic, but not negative. So try to cut more the negativity of your life, and you can start with the type of content you consume, you know. Um, so it's really important. Be a bit more kind about yourself, you know. And the other thing that it was the thing that helped me the most back when I was in my confident era. How I miss it. It was the time that I was very confident, not exactly about my appearance, because there is a difference. There's a inner confidence and an out confidence. The out is more related to our appearance and how people react to us, and the inner is about your relation with yourself, you know. And I'm focusing more on the inner confidence because the outer is actually easier for you to change, but the inner is the one that will actually impact your life in a long term thing. So following with what I was saying, when it comes to confidence, it's really important for you to feel secure about yourself. And for that, sometimes you need to train, you need to work out, you need to try a bit, work on it. So for example, the moment I was more confident about myself was a moment where I was studying a lot. So basically, I loved this studying, and I had the pleasure of studying about different topics. There wasn't a exact topic. It could be about anything. Some day I was studying about organic chemical. The other day I was studying about politics. The other day I was studying about history, and I loved it. Uh, I was studying about economy and all, and I loved it. And once back then I was at school, I had to present a presentation about it. I felt so confident while doing it. I felt the pleasure of doing it because I was prepared. So sometimes we have to be prepared to feel confident. But doesn't mean that if you're working a lot on it, if you're studying a lot about it, it will automatically give you confidence. No, there are many people who studies a lot, who works a lot, and they still feel insecure. And that's fine. But it's a thing that you can do to, you know, enhance yourself, strengthen yourself. So for example, if you want to be more confident about, I will give you a extern and an intern example, but the extern, if you want to be more confident about your body, you have to work out, you have to go on a diet. you know it won't happen overnight with you being laid on your bed. And the same thing about the inner part. So if you want to be more confident about your work, maybe you should try to search search skills that will help you to be more productive, that will help you to be more efficient on this job. So for example, I will take the same example that I mentioned in the previous video. I love drawing, and for me, drawing is a hobby. But if I start to invest more of my time on learning how to draw and learning more about angles, or learning more about anatomy, it will surely make me more confident about my drawing, because I'm putting effort on this thing and I'm improving. And if it is really important in this process for you to compare yourself to your uh previous version, you will see that there was an improvement. So for example, the first day you went to the gym and started diet, you compare to yourself 20 days later, you will see a difference. You won't be like that anymore because you put effort on it. So the other tip is kind of related to this one. um do not compare yourself a lot, because the more you compare yourself, more insecure you will feel about yourself. So there only one way that you can do comparison is comparing yourself to yourself. Compare your current self to your older self, because you see that in this meantime you may have kind of have an evolution in this part that you invested your time in. you know and if you don't, maybe it's a way for you to feel motivated to take an action about it as well. you know but you have to accept taking action. Things won't change overnight. I know, I would like to. And as I said about comparison, there's no point of you comparing yourself to other people. There's no point in the end of the day. And I know it's hard because I'm always comparing myself. I made a video this week that at first sight I was going to post this video, but I ended up giving up because I got emotional and I didn't want to show this part of me. But in this video, I was saying that I compare myself a lot, and it's something that I have to stop, you know. And instead of comparing myself to people who comes from a different reality of mine, a different background, I should take inspirations from people who actually came from a similar place to mine. So someone who actually left um, from the same point that I'm in. You know, these are people who are going to inspire me. And it's really important for you to be surrounded by people who are actually working on this. Because I saw a video today and it was amazing. And I highly agree. It's not that your parents they're your enemies. No, but sometimes the advices your parents are going to give you won't be useful for you. And that's fine, because For example, the example the girl gave in her video, it's a bit extreme, but she was right. If your father is not rich and he never did something to have an improvement in his life, and you wanna have an improvement in your life, what will the father help you? They won't help you with anything. Always people calling me while I'm recording. Okay. So sometimes you have to look for inspiration and advices from people who will actually have the answers you need, you know? And it's sad because when it comes to personal life, our parents, of course, they will help you, but when it comes to professional lives, maybe they won't. And that's it. So for example, my parents, they were poor and they have an improvement in their lives because they studied and they took a public exam. I already explained a bit about it, but basically, they work for the state. So they work for the state, and in Brazil, you have to take an exam for that. And they have a good improvement in their lives. We have such a comfortable life because of them. And for them, the only way for you to achieve things in life and succeed in life is doing it. You're unable to achieve anything else if you're not doing it. And I highly disagree. I highly disagree. And sometimes it's a bit hard to talk about it with my parents because it seems like we are speaking in different language. So it's a bit, annoying because sometimes I would like to have a help from my parents, but I know that I won't find this help in them and I will have to search for somebody else. And that's it. And in this moment, you have to do your network and search for these people and run after these people and, you know, do your jump, as we say in Brazil. And it's hard, but once you be surrounded by people who are a inspiration for you and who are, they wanna help you in your journey, be grateful and try to be attached to these people because they can be a turning point in your life. So be surrounded by people who will help you, who will teach you to achieve what you want. And it's hard, but it will help you with your confidence as well because you realistically see what this life is. You will actually challenge yourself to do what is needed for you to get at this place. And I know it's hard, but it's part of the journey. And basically, the video is a bit long, so I'll stop here. And there's always something that I would like to talk about before finishing this video. Um, I never wanted to be open about being Brazilian here in this channel. I wanted to be how can I say that, racially ambiguous, as I am in general. And but many people, they were not many, some people were asking me where I am from, and I openly talk about it, and I started to feel more comfortable saying that I'm Brazilian and all those things. But I received a comment this week that I didn't like talking about Brazil. And was this comment problematic? No. If you read the comment, you know what comment I'm talking about. It was in the previous video. There's nothing problematic, but I'm starting to see that it's getting a bit dangerous. Unfortunately, many people have fetish about Brazilian girls. I never thought I would be a victim of it because I don't fit the standard of the Brazilian girl. I don't fit the ideal, the fantasy that foreign men have about Brazilian girls. I don't fit, you know. So I never thought that it could happen to me. It still haven't happened, but I am afraid that that will eventually happen. And I will say that if you are some kind of guy who are watching me because I'm Brazilian and you have some kind of fetish, please leave. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear. Okay. This is really problematic. This is weird, and we don't, in this channel, we do not support anything. If you're curious about Brazilian culture, search about it. There are many content about it on the internet. Many Brazilians make content about it, but no, our culture are not about dancing. We do not dance every day, every time. No, actually, Brazilian people are extremely smart. We are extremely smart. And I will never support or endorse any kind of thought and stereotype about my culture that simply belittles to people who doesn't have a mind and are dancing the whole day and are extremely sympathetic. No, we're not. We're normal, like everybody, you know? As I said, most of the most intelligent guys in the world are Brazilians. You know, we are reference in economy, we are reference in science, we are reference in inventions, we are reference in art. So you cannot belittle us to dancing and being funny. We're not. You know, I'm here. I'm a Brazilian girl. I speak English. I speak Spanish. I speak French. You know, I'm always studying. I'm graduating. You know, so please, please do not belittle us to this stereotype. You are not forced to know about our culture. But if you don't know, search about it. You know, search about it. Brazilian girls are not dumb. We're not idiot. We're not. You know, so if some guy ever listened to me talking about being Brazilian here in this channel and start having some kind of ideas about Brazilian girls, about Brazilian culture and all, this is not a place for you. Okay? This channel is a place for women in majority who wants to grow, who wants to be smart, and who wants to learn about fashion because I love fashion, and that's it. This channel is for these people. If you're not this kind of people, this place is not for you. You know? So if you don't want to watch my videos because you're actually interested on my content, on what I am talking about, on what I'm speaking, and they're only focusing on my appearance, I don't want to hear because the channel is not about my appearance. The channel is about growing. The channel is about studying. The channel is about having a personal development. So if you're here simply because of my appearance, leave. Leave because I'm not talking to you. You're not paying attention to what I'm saying. So what are you doing here? You know what? Because I don't have patience to readers. I don't have patience to readers. You know, it's annoying to be a woman on the internet because of that kind of thing, because of the kind of behavior, you know. So yes, it was only one comment. I didn't like it. There's nothing problematic on the comment. If you read it, you'll see. Do not say that I'm being dramatic, but I don't want to open the channel to this kind of thing because it started with a comment, but it can be eventually a lot of comments and they will be respectful. And because of that, I will not mention anything about Brazil anymore. I will be fully focused on my content and that's it, okay? I am tired of having to say this, but that's it. Unfortunately, it's part of being on the internet and I have to understand. But before this movement grow, I am cutting it by the root, you know? So that's it. Bye. I'm a bit stressed. I am a bit stressed and irritated, but bye.